Hey everyone, Shaun Stevenson here, author of the Throne series, and during the filming of this review, it is Old School April! So I've got all my Old School April picks up on the shelves behind me. So there's some over here too, and there's some over here too. They're all over the place. It is Old School April, and I am part of it, and I'm so excited to be part of this. It's a readathon, watchathon, doathon, and you can find out more at the link in the comments below. But for now, we need to get to this review because... oh wow, I just finished reading this book. It is my first Old School April book that I have read, and it fits a couple of different prompts. It fits the Goosebumps prompt, so, it's a Goosebumps book. Well, you already know, because you saw the thumbnail and the title. Who am I trying to fool anyone? We definitely just read, I read Bad Hair Day, book number 41 in the Goosebumps series by R.L. Stine. He's no Easter bunny. I thought this was a perfect read to start off the month because Easter was yesterday, it's April Fool's Day, and there's a lot of fooling going on in this particular Goosebumps book. Now, one of the things I need to confess right off the bat here is that I actually am a magician. I do magic tricks. I'm not the kind of magician in this book who's not very nice, but we'll get to that. But I do magic tricks. I've done some library magic shows, things like that, and I love doing magic. It's a lot of fun. Magic tricks are so much fun to do. I always tell the kids that come to my shows that any 8-year-old can learn to do magic tricks with 30 years of practice. Or go find your local librarian and ask them, where are the magic trick books in the library, and those librarians will show you. Because in this book, our main character, Tim Swanson, he so badly wants to be a magician. And I so identified with Tim as a character because when I was a kid, I loved magic tricks too. And I loved performing them. I got some little magic books when I was a kid. I found some at like the Goodwill where I found some different like old time magic books that I bought, and I tried all the tricks, and some of them I couldn't do because I didn't have the supplies needed to do them. Like one of them I remember I can't tell you much about it, but I will tell you this. You had to boil something on the stove, and I just didn't have the supplies I needed, and I couldn't really boil stuff because I was, 10, and I wasn't really allowed to cook on the stove yet. So, that whole thing. But I so identify with Tim Swanson, who just so badly wants to be a magician, puts on little shows for his neighborhood friends, but his sister drives him wild because his sister Ginny is just always ruining all the tricks, always telling him like, oh, that's how you did it, this is how it happens, this is what goes on. And so Ginny, his little sister, is really annoying, and I actually feel like she wins the cake for the most annoying character in a Goosebumps book. She actually was extremely annoying. I usually can push aside, like, sometimes characters in Goosebumps get a little bit annoying, but not like this. This was a little over the top, even for a Goosebumps story. And I feel like R.L. Stine wrote this character for some reason just all the way to annoying level 5000 because I just couldn't do it with her. I thought, oh wow, you are the brattiest little sister I've ever heard of in my life. I have a little sister in real life, and my little sister's awesome. So I'm very grateful that my little sister is great. I did not have a bratty little sister like Ginny in this book. But so Tim Swanson, his hero is Amazo the Magician, who is going to be having a show at the Midnight Mansion. And he gets a free ticket, but he's not allowed to go because it's on a school night and it starts at 10 p.m. But he sneaks out of the house with Ginny, who catches him, so she has to come along. They go to the show and things start to unravel when Tim steals Amazo's magic bag, because not everything in that bag is a treat. It's more like a trick. So you'll have to read this book to find out what happens. I have heard a lot of people, I went into this book knowing this. I did not know the end of this book, and I couldn't remember anything about it. So I know a lot of people talked about the end of this book being one of the most like intense endings of a Goosebumps book in a way, if you think about what happens to the characters. And so I went into this book knowing that. And yeah, that is the ending. The twist ending here, I kind of guessed it from the beginning what was probably going to happen, but I thought, oh, they actually did that. I don't like that at all. But it definitely is one of the most intense endings, in my opinion. It's very, very, very intense. So that's an interesting ending to a otherwise pretty quiet Goosebumps book in a way. This is what's interesting about this book. It's not like other Goosebumps books where you have a monster lurking somewhere, or you have a creature that's just waiting to get the kids, and you kind of know something's up and the kids know something's up, but they're never quite sure, like in Ghost Beach, that kind of a book. But in this one, it's a little bit of a quiet story where this kid who just really wants to be a magician has to deal with his sister and the neighborhood kids, and like wanting to be a magician but can't because he can't fulfill his dreams. And that's ultimately what this book is about. It's about the fact that kids, especially in the 90s and the 80s, the millennials, were always told you can be whatever you want to be and follow your dreams and do all these sorts of things, and it's awesome and you can do it. And I think the reality is, sitting here as a millennial in 2024 when I record this, is that I think a lot of millennials found out that, oh, actually we can't do all the things we wish we could. We don't have time, we don't always have the resources, and we don't always have the skills. And that's what Tim is facing in this book. He is facing a reality where he doesn't have all the time, he doesn't have all the resources he needs to be a magician like a Mazo. He doesn't have the skills yet, and he's trying to learn, but he's trying to take shortcuts to learning those tricks and to learning how to be a magician. And in the end, it's the shortcut that gets him in a predicament, I will just say. And I think that's a very interesting topic for a book to explore, to kind of not temper kids' dreams of doing great things and being great things and all that sort of things. So I think that kids should be told they should pursue like what they're interested in and practice at things and all that sort of stuff. But I also think this is kind of an interesting cautionary tale in trying to take shortcuts, but also in sometimes you won't achieve your dreams. And I don't know if that's okay or not. I haven't really landed on that. This book was very weirdly thought-provoking, and I think that's probably not what a lot of people expect from a Goosebumps book. Usually after I read these, I go read reviews on like Goodreads and Amazon to kind of see like what do people say about these books. And this one's interesting because a lot of people don't really love it that much. And they kind of mark it a little bit lower than usual other Goosebumps books because there's not really a creature. It's kind of a little bit, like I said, quiet. It's a little bit slow moving for a Goosebumps book. But I think for me, this had a very interesting, poignant, like theme that was going on throughout this book, where this kid is kind of being ridiculed for the dreams he has, he wants to pursue, but he's just not able to achieve them. And I think that's an interesting thing for a kid's book to explore. I don't know if R.L. Stine sticks the landing on that idea, and I think the twist ending definitely drives things home in an interesting way. But I think, too, that you have a sister who is so annoying and does get everything she wants and does have the skills and does get the resources from, oh, I'm actually thinking about this now. Okay, let me think this through. Because in this book, Ginny, the younger sister, has everything. She gets like all the karate lessons she wants. She gets to do all the things she wants. She kind of is like even in the book, Tim says she's the darling of the family, and Tim is kind of like pushed to the side a little bit. Ginny gets everything that she wants. And in the end, she turns out totally fine. I think this is fascinating because the kid who has a dream and it's like squashed because he doesn't have the resources given to him by the adults in his life who could help him and give him resources. You know, his parents could buy him some magic trick books and help him learn or take him. There are, even in the 90s, there were magicians doing little like classes and things to teach kids magic and to help them learn how to do magic tricks. And he does not have those resources because his parents have given all the resources to someone else. So this is a very interesting book now, the more that I dissect it and think about it, because this happens in life a lot. There are a lot of times certain people get resources and time and skills and things, and other people don't get those resources. And what would happen if someone was given the resources, was given the things that they needed to pursue a dream? What would happen and what would change? I think that is the question that this book, as I dissect it, ultimately raises. Well, this review went a lot deeper than I thought it was going to. I do have one other thing I want to say about this book, though. There are a couple of unfortunate things I think that this book has that have aged it a tiny bit. There are some unfortunate depictions of the ways that the kids talk about karate in this book that I think don't age super well personally, and I think we're not thinking through. At the time when R.L. Stine wrote this, he wasn't thinking through how this would come across. So I do have that caveat. I think that probably that's going to go over most people's heads, but I think that it is an important thing to talk about and to say, when you read these old-time books, sometimes there are things in them that did not age. And my best approach, I feel like, is to read past those things, acknowledge where maybe that book could have been a little better, and learn from it, and then move on. That's my opinion on what those things should be. So, Goosebumps, Bad Hair Day. Have you read this one? I am very intrigued by it now. I think I want to almost reread it because I want to see it through this lens of what I've just talked about. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give Goosebumps Bad Hair Day, probably surprising to some people, 4 out of 5 stars. This book, the more I have just thought about it, has been surprising me. And I think this one is definitely worth a read for any millennial who had a dream, and maybe that dream didn't come true or didn't turn out the way you expected. I think that's a very interesting thing to think about, and maybe not the most pleasant thing to think about as you start old school April and, want to have a lot of fun and things, but this is definitely an interesting thing. Until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye!